I don't have a ton of time here, so let's get to it. What do you say?
Oh, I'm sorry, man. I wish you would have told me that because there's a lot to talk about here. Yeah, let's do it. I want you to start, man. I'm excited.
You excited? Penguin, the show with the character played by Colin Farrell, brilliantly. I don't think anyone would argue against that. I would seriously doubt it. I would love to hear someone saying that Colin Farrell's performance is just okay in this. I can't remember ever seeing an actor. I mean, granted, there's makeup and prosthetics, but if you didn't know this is Colin Farrell, if I didn't know this is Colin Farrell, you could say, oh, this is just a new actor that no one's ever heard of. He's just really good at what he's doing. Watch the show. Not one split second during these 8 episodes, or even the Batman movie, would I even begin to assume or guess that it's Colin Farrell, or anyone else for that matter. Just complete transformation. Amazing. This is, to me, I don't want to overstate anything. This is the most enjoyable series or season of television I've ever watched in my entire life. This was absolutely phenomenal. And you're going off the heels of Matt Reeves' Batman, which you have your opinions on it. I have mine. I thought it was entertaining in the theater. I didn't think it was great by any stretch, but it was fine. This just took that whole world to another unprecedented level, and it's going to be really interesting to see what they do as a follow-up to this, because now you have, in my opinion, maybe the greatest Batman villain that's ever been portrayed on screen. And this is going up against Heath Ledger's Joker, which is, I mean, the top of the top. And
I mean, Joaquin Phoenix is the top of the top, but I see your point.
Oh, you think Joaquin Phoenix is better than Ledger? But it's such a different character. You're comparing both portrayals of the Joker. They're completely different. I mean, if you're Christopher Nolan directing Ledger and saying you want to play this psychotic, almost maybe schizophrenic, probably genius character in the Joker in The Dark Knight versus what Todd Phillips was coaching, I assume Joaquin Phoenix here is a tormented man with crazy mental illness who lives in this horrible world where he can't get help. These are two completely different characters, really.
Was that an attack? What was that about?
Well, I'm just making a point.
You're attacking me? Is that what you're calling me?
Are you okay? Do you have a rebuttal for that? Okay, so I watched this show completely in 2 days, which I rarely do. I'm not a good binger, but this one was really easy to binge. It's, we've said this many times on many other podcasts. Strange Darling was probably the most recent. It's kind of impossible to talk about a show like this without having some spoilers. There's obviously a huge thing that happens the last episode, last 10 minutes of the last episode of this series that really solidifies who this character is. But the balance that they rode in bringing this villain into an episodic show and bringing humanity to him throughout the series and then completely stripping it all away was brilliant, I thought. It was absolutely amazing. And Penguin, I don't know that much about the lore and the history of this character. Most people know DeVito from Batman Returns. That was an incredible performance. Obviously more cartoony, but that's what Tim Burton goes for. It was a perfect portrayal, in my opinion, of a Batman villain in what could be a real world scenario.
Preach, brother. Got anything else?
No, I'm going to stop here because I want to hear what you got to say, like your opinion. Obviously, I don't even know if you like the show yet. I'm assuming you did.
Yeah, I got to start. I mean, so pilot, man, you watch the pilot and you're like, this is a producer, screenwriter, director, series runner. This is like a person's dream, you know?
Yeah.
Well acted, great setup, great possibilities from there. Probably not a huge budget, by the way. Just everything is just right. You know, I said that the characters come across naturally. They seem comfortable in their positions. There's some stuff that's a little odd, you know, taking the would-be rim stealer and, you know, take him under your wing. You know, a couple of things, a little odd, but I get it. And I think it's just a dream from the pilot. And then it degrades into a not great series. Sorry. I think I was trying to think about the inflection point. I'm like, where is the inflection point this went wrong? And I know exactly when it was. I shouldn't say I know. I'm pretty sure I do. It's a part where he and Sophia are having that really poignant moment about trust. And she's like, I just don't know if I can trust you, right? Which was done very early. That was episode 3, I think. Maybe 4. And then it all goes to shit. Then she realizes in that one moment he was, you know, they quickly accelerate it and show, just kidding, he was a bad guy all along. I never thought they were going to reveal he killed her brother that early. I thought it would be an end reveal thing, which would be the way I would have written it, which is to have the two allied and then he double crosses her at the end, right? Like, just kidding, motherfucker. take her back to Arkham. Wait, but we would know. And then she finds out he's also one that killed her brother. And it was a beautiful moment. The acting, I watched it probably 6 or 7 times, that scene. As usual, I'll have my positions. I use IMDb negative reviews as a lot just to make sure I'm not in an echo chamber, like I'll say all the time. And I got a lot of the same thing. I mean, here's the feedback. I'll give you the aggregate of the negatives, right? Colin Farrell, undeniably amazing. I'm not going to argue. Undeniably amazing. I love that actress, by the way. I don't think she was given quite what I wish she could have been given. She didn't do what I thought she would do, but it's the writing. It was the script. It's not her fault. I think she's a great actress. Colin Farrell crushed it. Every scene, they did this in a show called Suits. Every scene is a fucking double cross. Little did you know I'm with the other guy. No, little did you know I'm with this gang. Little did you know. I'm like, I get it, guys. Okay, we've done this like 6 times. And also, little did you know, now I trust you. And also, little did you know, during my double cross, I'm going to do a fucking speech. Whether it's the kid at the end grandstanding in front of a bunch of mobsters and calling them pussies, which would never happen. Whether it's her taking the cash and throwing it out and giving a speech. Whether it's him passing out the beers and giving it a speech. I don't know, man. There's a fucking speech. It's like beat by beat, like they have like a formula. Like first do a speech, then do the double cross, then say I'm going to pretend to trust this new partnership, allyship I've made with the other double cross this time in this way. Yeah, I don't know. Then the incomprehensible, just kidding, the kid is not a sociopath, he's a psychopath. They give you backstory, but they don't give you backstory why. He's just a psychopath. Was his dad abusive to him? Like, it was so easy. Like, I thought what they're going to do is that one mobster guy was going to be his dad, like illegitimate dad. Maybe he was and I missed it. I don't know. He just takes his brothers that are all like heart of gold, and the mother's the best mother that can be as a single mother, trying her best with her beautiful babies. But this one kid is willing to kill his brothers. What they want you to believe is the mother smothered him so much or babied him so much. And plus he had something implicitly to him, which I never buy because children aren't evil. They're raised by their environment. Somehow willing to murder both of his brothers.
I think that's a really interesting point in the story for me. You are raised by your environment if you're a child. And he didn't murder his brothers. He had a choice. He was given a choice because of the environment and the situation, and he made the choice to leave them for dead. And that's the difference. He didn't pull out a gun and shoot them. I don't think he could have done that. He did something that was the impetus for his character development into the dark side, and that was a huge point in that. Kids are stupid a lot of times. Not to justify any behavior like that, because it's irredeemable what he did. But he made a choice, and that was the start of his path into the dark side, his journey into the dark side. And I think that's why it's such a really smart plot point there for a character like this, as he goes into adulthood, and to kind of see, where did that start? It probably started a little bit before that. Who knows? I mean, there could have been some things that happened, but again, you can't over-explain something like this. You have to leave some of it up for interpretation. And back to the mob boss being his father, I think that's probably what it's suggested, but never gotten to. If they do another season, I'm sure it'll be fleshed out a little bit more. I think that's why it's such a really smart thing that happened, was because he made the choice to leave his brothers for dead.
So there's the show Sherlock, which I like a lot. I think there's like 6 episodes, 8, something like that, but they're all like an hour and a half long. They're like movie shows. I don't know what that's called, episodic or something. Sherlock from BBC, which is extremely highly reviewed, kind of made Benedict Cumberbatch a household name. Sherlock Holmes has a sister. What's her name? Zephyr? I'm like Zephyr or Vesper. I can't remember. And so the final episode, I'm sorry, I'm ruining the entire series for you if you ever watch Sherlock. Disclaimer, don't listen to me if you ever want to watch Sherlock, which is a great show. They review she's extremely high IQ, like 190, like fucking weird IQ. And so they do a little of her backstory, and they start talking about her, and she would do weird stuff, like she was dissecting like animals and whatnot as a kid, and she was doing it because she was curious. What does the inside of an animal look like? Because she was just so fucking smart that it was like, you can't be that smart. People that are that smart have usually drug issues and whatnot, because it's too much. I think a guy who was like a teenager had the highest recorded IQ ever. He was in college, and he jumped off a building, and he left a smiley face on a chalkboard or something. Mm-hmm. Like, your brain is just a mess. You're like a 200. It's like insane. And so they say stuff like she did that, and then she started getting weirder, and she cut her arm. And her parents were like, "Why would you do that?" And she's like, "I wanted to see what my insides look like." And then her brother said, like, she showed no reaction. He said something like, "Didn't that hurt?" She's like, "Didn't you feel pain?" And she's like, "Which one's that one for pain?" And you could see they're giving the idea this girl is so disconnected because she's so fucking smart that she's starting to get weird. It progressively got worse until Sherlock's friend, his name was Redbeard, I think. Redbeard was the name they gave him, the moniker, but his name was like Timmy or something. She always wanted to hang out with Sherlock, but never could, right? Because she was so alienated by how she was, but she wanted to just be with her brother. Well, at one point, she lures this kid into a well and leaves him at the bottom of the well, and he dies. This kid, a child, he drowns in the well. And it becomes the entire basis of her backstory and her big reveal at the end when she finally accepts it, right? They did a lot of buildup where you could see the sociopath, you could see the psychopath building to the big crescendo. This one, the scene is single mom trying her best, kid's heart of gold. Yeah, he's a little bit alienated from his brothers. Happens all the time, middle child, right? Every time. So far normal. And he just decides to live with his brothers. That's it. Well, where did he get such capacity for such ambivalent murdering, whatever you want to call it? He still knew bad would befall him. Like, where did we have any kind of build? No, it just happened. That's it. And so I've seen it somewhere else done well, and then I see this and I'm like, okay.
I don't think it matters because you know him as an adult, and he could be the kid doing crazy shit in the room on his own. You never know. Fill in the gaps. He could be torturing animals on the side. You don't know that. You
got to fill in gaps for important points. You don't have to fill in gaps with like, I don't know, Gyllenhaal in Prisoners, and he had the weird twitch with his eye, remember?
Yeah.
He keeps twitching. You don't have to explain that. Doesn't matter, really. But let's say he has a big Satan tattoo on his face, but he's helping Christians. I'm making it up. You got to explain that. You do have to explain that. Why is that? It's on his face. Explain that to me, please. The show felt like it was constantly trying to find its voice. Like, so the Falcon, what is she? The Falcon? There's not the Maronis. I forget all the names. Who's Sophia's family? Maronis?
Falcone.
Sorry, Falcons. I did pay attention, commenter. Sorry. Presumably she's a sweet old darling, and her brother is a fuck up drug addict. Every rich family has them. Normal so far. Normal. I get it, fits, right? But not to worry, because her dad is going to take the ultra crazy position of having her be the leader as a woman, which is crazy, right? But she's so competent, capable, everything that he wants her to take over the business, right? That happens. Then like 4 minutes later, just kidding, I found mom dead. It was a really weird thing. I didn't suspect you really ever, but now it's weird because a journalist out of nowhere came up. And also that one position of me just talking to the journalist and saying, Dad, can you tell me more? Not even accusing you, just saying, Dad, can you tell me more? Made you willing to, a scene ago, which in the beginning of the a day ago, you're going to give me the whole empire, everything. And then the next day, me asking you a question about a journalist where you have every opportunity to like pull the wool over my eyes, which you've been doing all along because you're a mobster. And I somehow don't know that, by the way. Somehow I don't know the family business is a mobster, which is incomprehensible to me, right? Now you're going to throw me to Arkham for 10 years, not ever thinking of me a second thought. No one else, by the way, no one but my brother. Everybody hated me. I was a heart of gold sweetheart, pure, that became the devil, right? Like, not a one person. Oh, because they're scared of Falcone. Yeah, I get all the like justifications. I'm sorry it didn't fit. Either she's a mastermind that gets everything and knows the family business is mobs, but she didn't because she says my dad's a good man or whatever. It was so rushed just to make it happen. I just didn't believe it. And I was just like, okay, I mean, I'll go along. Yeah, okay. All right, next. I had seen a review of this, right? And they were talking about, they're like the Arkham scene guy. And then they was on his little podcast. These guys were like, I know, rough. And I was like, oh, man, they're going to do some twisted shit to her, right? If they're willing to kill a guy with his bare hands at the end, that's supposed to be the fucking golden retriever of the show. I hate rape in shows. I hate it at all. I hate that it's ever shown. I thought they were going to sexually torture her. I thought they were going to mutilate her. I thought they were going to do crazy experiments. They did electroshock, which is so fucking standard for any mentalist. Electric shock. We're so antiquated. And that's genuinely, but she murdered. Yeah, I understand those things. They gaslit her and electroshocked her, right? I expected considerably more. If you're willing to go as far as they went on some things, like murdering your brothers as a child and killing someone with your bare hands, I was sure they were going to show some twisted shit to make her twisted, which is what I expected. Even the scene with the kid, like where he takes the speech, they all say the same rationalization, like these mobsters care. Like, they don't care about none of you guys. They don't care about none of you guys. This is our community, guys. This is our community. It's the same speech. Yeah. Hey, mobsters. Hey, thug mobsters. They didn't care about you. I do. Here's $100,000 in cash. Everyone take a $5,000 pile. Like, I'm different. Like, it's the same speech every time.
I didn't really see that as being the same speech. I understand what you're saying, though, about the constant double cross and the speeches of motivation to get people to sway and follow you and support your tribe or whatever you're fighting for as a mobster or a mob boss, whatever you want to call it. But I think that Oswald had a really incredible, charismatic, realistic way of delivering a message to these kind of people to make them listen. There were similarities in all of it because they all live in that same world. And you have to have him stand out a little bit to get more of the power. But I thought it was a really great representation of Gotham and the fact that you've never really seen it portrayed this way with, essentially it's just in the world, the crime bosses are fighting for complete control, which makes sense for it to be that way until Batman comes into the picture. This is obviously an immediate follow-up to Matt Reeves' Batman because they mentioned the flooding in the first episode and maybe they mentioned the Riddler, I can't remember. In the movie, Batman's just starting out, right? Like no one really knows who he is yet.
I think it's supposed to be year 2 or something. He's new.
Right.
They definitely know who he is. No, they absolutely know who he is. I think he's at year 2.
Okay.
Like precisely. So go ahead.
But I mean, I think for me, this is a perfect segue into really getting that world kick started. And the speeches don't bother me at all. It may seem a little contrived, repetitive, redundant for you. For me, it wasn't. There was just enough different and nuance in what he was saying to the people versus what the others were trying to do that really made him stand out from the pack and made you realize that he will get power because of who he is and how he's able to manipulate and communicate, really. For me, man, like under-explaining, they can go back and do more Arkham flashbacks for her and possibly sexual torture or something, which obviously is going to make any viewer empathize more with her character. But really, you didn't want to pull that switch in the first season because we don't want to know too much about her because we want these characters to kind of slowly drift apart in their polarizing elements.
You need an anchor first. And again, another weak anchor. Like, he's the one that sent me to Gotham. Like, what? Because he told me I met a journalist. And then, like they are doing this thing with Penguin where I'm not stupid. I get it. He lives in his own. I live in my reality and you're a guest, right? That could be a powerful or narcissistic statement depending how you use it. And I like the statement for some reasons. That's him, right? He'll never accept what he did. His mom's crazy and, not him. He gaslights people. Sure, I get that, right? So, like, they kept going with the line of, like, the guy that, does actually care about the community and when he's conflicted, but then he also knows he has to be strong, for his mom, like, all these things. But then, like, the end, I'm sorry, that was the most show a dude's dick moment, right, on television was when he murders the kid. It was so stupid and contrived. Just stupid.
You think so?
Murdered. Absolutely.
I think he was going to do it the whole time. He was going to do it the whole time. He knew it. He was using him, and he was going to do it the entire time.
Yeah, sure. I could see that. I think it was just shock value.
Okay. I don't, man. I just want to touch note briefly on, I'm always going to talk about performances. That scene, I can only imagine what they were kind of going through on set because I guarantee you the actors didn't know who was going to make it out of episode 8. And this character playing Vic, or this actor playing Vic, probably didn't know that he was going to be killed off until maybe like the last few days of shooting, I would assume. But this scene that they did next to the river where they're sitting on a bench and they're sharing this moment, and then Oz chokes out Vic and takes his life. Just look at Colin Farrell. And even if the scene or the whole story element bothers you, go back and watch his face and him living this moment where he's taking his life. It's just etched into my memory, and it was so fucking brilliant, I think.
But we don't differ there. I agree. Go to IMDb and look at the negative reviews. You might be surprised because even the one, like I hate 1, but I think it's the laziest thing to put a 1 out of 10. That's just being fucking lazy. I hate when people do that, or a 2, right? Unless it is blink twice
for you.
I don't want to use it as like, well, my guy said it, so it's right. I'm just saying, like, I'm not crazy in my thing here. Great performance by Colin Farrell. Girl did great too, but wasn't given a great character. Boring. Slow, started extremely strong, meanders, has trouble finding out what it's trying to say or be, has nothing to do with the Penguin whatsoever at all. Oh, that's why it's great. No, it's not. It's that Breaking Bad thing I said, right? Where I was like, or what if it's a good guy becoming the villain over time and he's unlikable, right? They made him charming and kind of redeemable, abandoned people. Then he murders a guy at the end. you have to make things you identify with, right? I don't identify with the Penguin whatsoever, especially his last move. I could have up to then, right? I could have. Now I don't care.
Do you have to be able to identify with the villain, in your opinion?
Absolutely. I think that's always the case of bad writing. Or sorry, Freud. With good writing is otherwise it's lazy writing.
Well, there's so much there. There are subtle anchors here. Look at the scars on Penguin's face. It's never explained as to how he got those, or even the foot. He had the foot issue, I guess, as a kid. It's sort of a genetic or maybe a birth defect. But yeah, the anchors are there, and they're not just given
Those
to you.
things don't make me identify with somebody. That's the point. What does make me identify with someone is having guilt your whole life and not being able to finally admit to your guilt. I got that. I was like, okay, the catalyst for it is dumb, murdering his brothers, but I like that. Like, I'm like, okay, I can play with this. Like, we all live with things, and we're not being honest with ourselves. The only person that has a conscience. Psychopaths and sociopaths do not have a conscience. Do not. If you identify the psychopath, you should review yourself.
Well, I think you're exactly right here. It's revealed at the end that that's exactly what he is, but the audience, they kind of want him to be that gray area and have some good elements to him. But you realize at the end what he's doing with his mom and how sick he really is, dressing the hooker up and tell me I did good. He's gone. He's gone. He is shaped up in this series to be the perfect villain to Batman.
Psychopaths don't do that. At the end, they don't need to live out a delusion because they don't need to live out a delusion because they believe in their conviction. They don't say afterwards, dress up like mom and say I'm a good man. They don't need that because in their mind, they did nothing wrong. They don't need any reinforcement. There's no need for reinforcement. He's right. He didn't kill his brother. She's crazy. She's a crazy bitch. She's crazy, right? Conflicted people show there's a glimmer of something, but they reveal there's a glimmer of nothing. This guy is a complete psychopath. Irredeemable, gone, never to be returned. They don't do stuff like that. And now they're going to do what they do with season 2. They'll have moments where they try and win you back. And so let's just explore how season 2 will work out. Okay, so now he's the villain, right? That's the big Shyamalan. He is the villain, and Sophia is kind of like the anti-hero. I don't care about Sophia. That's another problem, too. I never cared about her. She's not smart, not physically intimidating, and not crazy or unpredictable. The kid was okay, I try to be fair to him. Oh,
man, I thought he was really good. Yeah, especially with that little subtle stutter. Usually that's overdone for actors when they have to do a stutter. I thought it was perfect in what he did.
He didn't overdo it. I agree. I think that's great. I'm glad you said that. Yep. Episode 1 was, I thought, but again, I look at that, I'm like, damn, that's something you mic drop that when you talk to the producers and you're trying to get the money. They're like, damn. Yeah. Fund this now.
Yeah, such a good setup for so many things to potentially happen there. It's textbook. I think if you want to start a series, this is something to really pay attention to and kind of follow that format and what they did there.
Is it True Detective season 1, which is my greatest show of any series of all time? No, but it's textbook. It did have a format. It didn't really break a lot of molds, right? But it was done just, chef's kiss, just right. Really, really well. So well done.
So you sent me an X link, I think it was yesterday or the day before, saying that The Batman, which is your favorite movie of all time, has been delayed 2 years. Have you heard? Is it because they're going to do another season of Penguin, or do you think because the Penguin success has merited more time to prepare for this new Batman movie, or maybe completely scrap the script? That's what I would think. And they're redoing the whole thing because we need Colin Farrell front and center in this new Batman for sure.
Did you just try to use my own tactic against me by slipping in my favorite movie ever and just glossing over as if it's a truth? That doesn't work on me. Okay, let me start with that. Well played, sir. That's a good question. I don't know. Maybe Pattinson doesn't want to do it again, or he refuses to stop being a twink in the next episode of the next movie where he's going to be 6 foot 90 pounds. So he won't do it.
I do hate that, man. I think he's a good actor, but I went back and watched some of the Batman a few weeks ago. I'm just like, God, it's the casting is just. I know Armie Hammer went through everything and may be exiled from Hollywood forever. Who knows? But he was in the running to play Batman, and I'm just completely befuddled as to why Pattinson got the nod. Even Nicholas Hoult. I think it was Nicholas Hoult, Armie Hammer, and Robert Pattinson, and it's so strange to me that they went with Pattinson for this and didn't even get him in a gym or I don't know. It wasn't Bruce Wayne. Wasn't my Bruce Wayne. But anyways, we'll talk about that later. Let's just get to scores. Yeah, I think it's interesting what you said, but I couldn't disagree more.
Yeah, no, it's fair. I give it 6.5, 6.7 maybe. I'll say, that's fair. I'll say 6.7, 6.7.
Okay. I'm 9.2. on this. It's a big boy.
You started taking ketamine as well, right?
Who takes ketamine? Who'd you say? Elon Musk? Okay. Yeah. I don't know about that. If that's true, that's interesting. But no, I'm
guys,
good on the
he's in a
ketamine for now.
euphoric state. He's not himself. He's in a euphoric state. His faculties are not.
I'm actually on acid right now.
He went back to Black Adam and said it was a pretty good movie. So take this with a grain of salt.